Hey guys, welcome back to another video in C program course. Myself, I'm Anam Samanhara and I'm a campus co-founder. So without any further delay, let's move on to today's agenda. So here we actually talk about functions, mainly function types. We're going to discuss in our today's class. So we have four different type of functions. So let's explore about the function types, and so that you're going to get some more clarity about what exactly the functions and how we actually use and where we actually use which type of function at where place and everything. We're going to explore it right now, and even you get some more clarity about functions by also watching today's video as well. So let me open my console application, the C programming. I'm going to choose C programming, and here I'm going to specify the function part 2. Here I'm going to specify function part 2. So here I'm going to click on this plus icon besides sources and the main.c. I'm going to increase the size here. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do, so now let's explore about the functions. We have four different types of user defined functions we have. So what are those and everything, we're going to explore it right now. Uh, so now let me type it. So we have four types of functions we have, and what are those functions we have. I'm going to type it in a shortcut way, so try to understand it. Function with uh, with no arguments and no return type. With fun is nothing but function with no argument. So RUG is nothing but argument and no return type. So and then second one is function. Or else let me write the full form as well for at least for 1 point. Function with no argument and no return type. So what is the second type is function with no argument and return type. And we have a return type here. We have a return value. We have and a return value here. We have a return value here. But when it comes to first type, we don't have a return type as well. Don't have the function argument as well. So what about the third one? Function with arguments and no return type. Function with argument and no return type here. You have to remember this. Function with arguments and a return value. And a return value. Function with arguments and a return value. So we have four different functions here. One is function with no argument and no return type. Function with no argument and a return type. Function with arguments and no return value. And function with arguments and a return value. So we have we both will going to have, and both not going to have, and one will have and one not have, one will have and one not have. So this is what the four different functions we have, and we already know about what is exactly mean by arguments and what is return type. We already explored it in our previous class. If you haven't checked that video, please do check that video and then come back here, so that you're going to get a some more clear cut idea about all the arguments and the return value as well, and also you're going to get some more idea about what exactly been my functions from the beginning of the class. So now let's explore about the first one. The first one, functions with no argument and no return type. So we're going to explore it right now. Let me comment it out first. So now let me write a function for first one. So now we have a this the header files, and we have a main function. So inside main function we're going to work for a function with no arguments and no return type. So now let's have some example for this thing. So so first one is no function, no argument and no return type as well. So what does exactly mean this function, particular function, and what exactly the function does, and everything we're going to discuss it right now. So now inside the function and inside the main function, I'm going to type just greater number, greater number, and then we have the return value, and we have return value as well. So or else I'm going to just delete this thing. That's going to be better. Yeah, it's going to be better ways. So we have just a function call statement here. So the great number is a function call. Here we're going to declare a function. What exactly the function does and everything. So here, there is no return type here. So we're going to give a void here. So there is no return type. So we're going to give a void, and even we don't have arguments. So we're not going to specify any arguments inside the function. So that's what we have just mentioned the function name. That's it. So here, the great num and then open and close curly brackets. So we're not even passing any arguments here. So that's what you have to remember this, because this function type is nothing but no arguments and no return type. So we're not mentioning anything. So everything we're going to do inside the function only. We just call the function and then we just do things. That's it, without anything. So inside this function, I'm going to specify ij, enter two numbers, enter two numbers here. I'm going to ask enter two numbers, and then backward slash n. Here I'm going to give the scanner function. I'm going to take an input from the user, and then I'm going to store it inside I and j here. I'm going to store it inside I and j here. So that's what we have declared in the in our line number 4, right? So I'm going to store it inside the I and j. So now I'm going to specify the if condition. I'm going to give an if condition here. If I greater than j, then I'm going to print the greater number is greater number is here. I'm going to give, else I'm going to give greater number is j here. I'm going to give I and j here. Else j. I'm going to give else j. So I'm just calling the function here. Everything, what the declaration part and everything, what are the function that we're going to be comparing the two numbers here. We're comparing the two numbers I and j, and we are printing the, if I greater than 0, then we're printing I, and j means j we're printing. So that's what everything we just mentioned inside the function. We're just calling the particular functionality, and then only the main function consists of just two lines. The one is a function name and the return type. That's it. There is nothing else inside the main function. We just have given this for more understanding. I have just given this particular comments for what exactly the function that we are working on. So nothing else. There is nothing inside the main function. Everything is outside the function that we have specified in a user defined function. So everything we just given the integer two types, and then we just comparing it, whichever is the greater number that we are printing here. So everything we know what exactly this particular if condition does and everything. We already explored everything in our previous classes. If you haven't checked the video, please do check this videos and then come back here. So now we're going to execute this thing. So it asking me to enter two values. So I'm going to enter 10 and 5. So now we got the output as the greater number is 10. So we got the output as the greatest first true. So this we got output as 10. So that's what exactly everything is done outside the function, and everything is in. This is the first type with no arguments and no return type. So that's what we have explored here for first type. So now explore about the second type as well. Now let me comment it out first here. And then so now let me copy this thing, and then let me copy it. I'm going to just delete it. I'm just what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this particular the function with no argument and no return type. I'm going to change it to the next type. So we have function with no argument and a return value, right? Isn't it? So I'm going to change it to in this way. I'm just going to cut this thing and I'm going to paste it here. Now what we're going to do is function with no arguments, but we have a return type. We're not going to we're not going to specify any arguments here, but we are just returning from this particular function. Let's explore what exactly the function does and everything. So now uh, let me explore this. Let me write the code inside this particular user-defined function. So we have declared two numbers, and I'm also going to declare one more number, that is greater here. I'm going to specify one more variable, that is greater here. If two numbers are we just printing and then we're scanning and we're just comparing and everything we are comparing, and if once we compare everything, what we're going to do here, I'm going to display this printf function here. Now what I'm going to do here, just observe what I'm going to do here. I'm even, yeah, we can do in this way, or greater is equal to so I'm going to do in this way, and else, yeah, so I'm going to comparing these values, and then I'm storing it inside the greater variable that I have already declared inside here on line number 22. I'm just storing it inside the greater value and everything. I'm just storing it inside. If I is greater than then I value going to store it inside the greater. If j is greater, then j going to store it inside the greater. If whatever the greater, then that are going to be stored it inside the greater. So that's what is going to happen here. So once we store it inside the greater, now what I'm going to do here, just observe carefully what I'm going to do here. I'm going to return the greater here and then close curly bracket. So we have this particular function. So at the end of the function, so I'm just going closing the curly bracket. So we're just returning the greater. What if j is greater then j going to return here. If I means I going to, both not going to return, only one going to return. So even in the either in this way we can do. Now here I'm going to show one more way to do in this way. So I'm going to show one more way. But before that, let me declare here. Let me cache that particular value inside result. I'm going to catch inside the result, or by doing in this way, or even we can do one more method. By just catching inside, or else even we can do in this way, by just catching inside the result, or by just doing in this way, or else we can have one more way to actually work on exactly what exactly mean by and everything. So here we have got this error because we have this particular return type as void here. So I'm going to change it into int type. So now if I run the particular code, now I'll get this output. So now it's asking me to enter two values and 5 and 10. So now we got the output as 10 here. So that's what about function with no argument and a return value. Function with no argument and a return value. So that's what we got output as output. So now, even as I said you earlier, we can have one more way to write in this particular function. That is nothing but we can actually write it inside single line. Not going to be, and even here also, we're not going to do in this way. We not even declare this particular greater here. We can directly return then I here. We can directly do in this way as well. Yes, of course, we can have two returns, but we're not going to see, but we're not going to return two returns here. We're not going to do any. We're not going to. If I write here two return statement that we don't we're not we going to we're going to return the function two times. That no, we're not going to do in that way, because we have if condition here. That's what we have to observe here. If this condition is true, then we're going to be written, and if this condition is true, then we're going to be written J. So that's what you have to remember here every time. So when I run this particular code, and again I'm going to give 10 and 5. 10 or 6 also 6. Okay, anything is fine. So we got output as 10. So that's what we got it output. So now we explored about function with no arguments and a written value. So now let's explore uh, one more type. Let me first comment it out this thing, and then I'm going to copy this thing, and I'm just going to change this. Yeah, here we have one more function, that is one more type, that is function with arguments and no written type. Yeah, it's a reciprocal for it's reciprocal for second type. Like it's so now so it's just reciprocal for second type. So now what we're going to do is, so now we have function with arguments and no written weight, no written type. So when it comes to second one, function with no arguments and a written value, so it's going to change here. Like if the here, but when it comes to third one, we have written no written value, but we have arguments. So that's what, just changing one thing. So now we're going to explore about the code here. So with this particular code, now what I'm going to do here is yeah. So here I'm going to change it to first. Here we don't have any hidden value, so I'm going to change it here. And but we have parameters, arguments into y here. I'm going to do in this way. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete all these things because we have parameters. So we're going to pass it from the main function. So we're not going to declare anything here inside the function. So now, but we don't have written type, so I'm going to delete this thing, and I'm going to print it out. Print I here. Print J here. I'm going to print I and J here. So that's what we're going to do here. But we're not going to return anything. So that's what you have to remember here, because that's we are in the third type. So there is no return type for the third. That is function with arguments but no return type. So that's what we are just looking at. So we're just printing it directly. So now comes to main function. So we're going to add inside the main function, we're going to add all the declaration and everything. I comma j here. I'm going to do, and I'm going to store it inside I and j here by just string address of I and j. And now I'm going to call the particular function. I'm going to delete this printf here. I'm going to call this particular function. Before calling a function, I have to pass the values I and j. So this is nothing but function call, isn't it? That we already discussed, right? Function call. So when we call this particular function, these two parameters going to jump into this particular, and here going to replace by this thing, and everything is going to execute here. And here actually see, so whatever we have here, I and j are so the wages whatever we going to give inside I and j, that going to replace here, as here is going to replace here. So that's what going to happen here. So now let's run the particular code. So what happened here? Yeah, because we have to change it to x and g. So because we have declared with x and j, x and y, right? So we have to mention the same thing here as well. Yeah. So because we're not printing anything, so that's why it's not showing any message here. Let me print something. So that's going to be better for going to be better, I guess. So I'm going to print something. Yeah, now let me run the code again. Yeah, so it's printing something. So we get clarity. So what exactly 10 and 5 here. So we got the output as 10. So that's what I got. So, but the functionality is different, like how it exactly works and everything is different. But whatever we are doing from the first type to third type, and we are also going to do fourth type, and everything we're going to do the same code. We're just comparing two values. The whatever the functionality is the same, like how it exactly run and how it exactly works is different. But that's what the different types that we have. And now just copy it. I'll just copy it. And I'm gonna post it here. I'm gonna paste it here. Now I'm going to replace this thing. Yeah, that's it. So now what I'm going to do here. So we came to the fourth type, function with arguments and a written value. So we have the arguments and the same well as written value as well. So both we're going to do here. So how exactly it works. So let me write this user defined function here. So I'm going to type int here. So we're going to return something, and we have a parameter x and y, and we're going to compare things. And once we compare it, once we done this comparing, I'm going to return x else and y. So that's what we're going to do here. And now once we compare everything and once we return it, we're going to catch it inside this particular function, isn't it? So I'm not going to declare one more variable here. I'm just directly going to catch it here. I want to save my memory. I don't want to waste my memory by declaring the unnecessary variables like these things. We can actually directly give it here in this way, right? So I just want to give in this way. I don't want to declare it again. So that's going to be. So now inside the main function, we have declared everything and we have printing everything and we are just scanning and thinking. And now we going to call this particular function. And once we call the function and just we're reading, once we reading it, we're going to replace this particular function name by that particular value. What we got here, we have, for example, 10 and 5, then we're going to be replaced by 50. 10 and 5 is nothing but, so 10, sorry, I just thought this addition. So yeah, we are comparing, right? So 10 and 5, it's going to compare whichever is greater. So 10 going to print it out. So I'm going to replace by 10 here. So let me run the code first. So now we have to. So I'm going to give 10 and 5. So we got the 10. So actually this 10, when we actually get from this particular, this everything is going to check everything, the condition, everything check inside this user defined function. Right? Once the conditions are checked, once we return this particular value, it's going to replace this particular value by this particular function here, and then it's going to replace by 10 here. You're going to replace by 10 and then 10 going to print it out here. So that's what is going to happen exactly here. And that's what going to happen exactly runs. So this is what about the overall structure about the different types of function. And even we have this arguments types, right? We have even we can give one argument also. We can also give three, four, any number of arguments we can give. That's not an issue. Only two arguments you have to give, or one argument you have to give. Not no. We can give any number of arguments, or even you can give single argument. Can do anything. And even we have different types of passing parameters that actually we can have like in particular in C we have there are two ways of passing parameters. Even this parameters also, there are two ways to pass the parameters that we are not going to explore it right away because like first time is okay, everything is fine, like we can actually explore it right now. But the second parameter that we need pointers, the pointer concept. So we haven't explored the concept yet, so I don't want to I don't want to share it right away because that will be confused for you. Once we done with the pointers concept, that time I'm going to discuss about that particular concept. There is two ways of passing a parameters that we're going to discuss about on after once we done with the pointers. So right now I'm going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss about it. So that's all about this particular functions, and we have explored what exactly mean by functions and everything. So that's all for today's class, guys. Thank you for watching. If you like my web, please do like, share, and subscribe to CoFocus. Thank you.